This Snazzy Tapir production is made possible by our patrons. If you'd like to join them, head over to patreon.com/snazzytapir to get member shoutouts, ad-free early access to new episodes, access to the members-only Discord, and our exclusive monthly newsletter. Thank you to Snazzy supporters Matt, Mike Barnes, and Ollie of the Beholder for keeping the show on the road. Now, on with the podcast. Welcome back to A Game of One's Own, a podcast all about solo and duet role-playing games. I'm your host, Maddy Searle, my pronouns are they, them, and today my wonderful guest Wren and I are continuing our playthrough of Tangled Blessings by Cassi Mothwin. As we begin this episode, Zoanna and Emmeline's second year at Brackroot Academy is coming to a close. There is quite a lengthy prompt for the end of year 2. You had strange dreams during the last month of the school year. They became clearer as time wore on, and you realized it was the speaking gem calling to you. One night you couldn't resist it any longer and felt compelled to visit the speaking gem after midnight. It showed you a secret path where others couldn't follow you. Your rival arrived the same time you did. You both touched the speaking gem simultaneously, and it said, "What you seek is hidden in the Grand Rotunda." The Grand Rotunda rests on a natural platform near the south end of campus. Do you visit the Rotunda, or did you let your rival go alone? If you visited, what did you find hidden in the Rotunda? Was it something you could take? Or was it a door, an idea, a view, a person, a symbol, a curse, a soul, a tool, a key, a body? Lots of different ideas. Do you think that Zoanna would have gone to the Rotunda?
I think with the current path that Zoanna is on, maybe it will change in year 3. But yes, she would have gone to the Rotunda.
I think that Emmeline would have gone too. I think that unlike the situation with the arm reaching out of the book, this feels like a choice that she can willingly make, and she feels more in control. And she also does not want to leave Zoanna alone with whatever this secret is. In that case, they both go. So do you have any idea what it is that our characters find there? I'm leaning towards either a body, like a dead body, or a person that may have something to do with the kind of demonic things that have been happening so far.
Oh, what if it's Professor Sagrada, the one I liked, the enchantment teacher? But is he alive or dead?
Excellent question. Because if he's alive, it would indicate that he had some kind of control over his situation. But if he's dead, it could mean that the school establishment wanted to cover up something.
Like, he was escorted off the grounds. Why is he back? And why is he dead?
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
That's interesting for Zoanna because you already suspected that something was wrong. And this is definitive proof for Emmeline, who didn't believe that the expelling of Sagrada was propaganda, that it is, in fact, something more sinister.
It's bigger than us.
It goes all the way to the top. Okay, we're now onto year 3, which uses the Pentacles. Your first card is the Ace of Pentacles. After drinking a cup of tea, your mouth was coated in the metallic aftertaste of poison. You stumbled through the school with strange hallucinations and voices guiding you to a river of cool water. Ghostly hands welcomed you into the current. When you reclaimed yourself, you were swimming in a vat of blood surrounded by candles. Who pulled you out? What did the pool steal from you? Things are escalating quite rapidly.
Exceptionally so.
Okay, 10 of Pentacles for me, which is the North Tower went on lockdown for a few weeks, requiring the evacuation of students and faculty. From outside the academy, you could see a rolling black mass pressed against the windows. For the duration, your shadow whispered to you, "Let's swim in the smoke." If you visited the North Tower, what else did your shadow say when you arrived? If you didn't, how did your shadow punish you? And your major arcana for this one is the Empress, number 3. And my one is the Hierophant, number 5.
I'm thinking at this point. You still have the what is Zoanna up to?
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
I think I've reassessed it somewhat after realizing that you had the right idea about Professor Sagrada, but yeah, maybe still got my suspicions.
Yes, I'm hallucinating. Strange voices pulled me into the river. My element is fire. My eyes still glow with orange from first year. And I think this is an attempt to quell that by someone else to like stifle this innate ability in me. And so when I'm in this vat of blood surrounded by candles, I think that's what it's trying to take from me. I don't think it succeeds. I think it takes instead some of my joy. I had been fighting to keep hold of it, and it gets plucked right out of me. And I think when you start investigating where I have vanished to, and I'm in this vat of blood, and you pull me out, the way I look at you is just so devoid of any sort of light or energy. And it's very different to how you've seen me look at people.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. I think from Emmeline's perspective, yeah, it's exactly as you say. You've disappeared. She needs to know where you are, either to make sure you're okay or to make sure you're not doing something nefarious, or both. And finds this pool of blood with these candles, possibly in one of the rooms in the secret passages that I've discovered previously. I pull Zoanna out, and when it's more socially acceptable to gently interrogate you, Emmeline does so. And it quickly becomes apparent that this experience was inflicted on you. This is not something that you chose. I think Emmeline is willing to believe that. The wheels start to turn, just like who is responsible for all these strange things that are going on. It might not be as simple as let's team up, but I think there is now perhaps a certain understanding that if one of us gets some information pertaining to this, we might pass it on to the other person, if that's something that you think that Zoanna would be agreeable to.
Yeah, I think the death of Professor Sagrada has had a lasting effect on her, and I think she thinks all of this is interconnected and related.
Excellent. Okay. And then for Emmeline, when she sees the roiling black mass against the windows, and her shadow begins to speak to her and say, let's swim in the smoke. This is another case of, you can't tell me what to do. I think she's got like a stubborn streak in her, as well as that sense of needing to be in control. I think she resists the shadow's instruction to visit the North Tower. And so I think the shadow punishes her by making it so that she cannot relate exactly what happened to her in this situation. When she tries to describe it to someone else, her voice gets cut off involuntarily. So even if she tries to explain to Zoanna, my shadow spoke to me and said, let's swim in the smoke, and I said no, she can start the sentence, but it trails off into nothingness. And she kind of can only make sort of strange gasping sounds.
The way that Zoanna remembers it is that you think you're making strange gasping sounds. I think Zoanna doesn't hear you. I think she hears your shadow.
Ooh.
So I think in the moment where you think you're not speaking, what comes out again is that phrase, and she doesn't know what it means. When you try to communicate to her, she writes it down and shows it to you, but then you can't elaborate on it. And so you're just caught in this moment.
Yeah, I think that I've been struck silent, but in fact I'm just repeating the phrase, let's swim in the smoke, over and over again, and it's really creepy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. I love that so much. Okay, time for our second prompt of year 3. For the Page of Pentacles, you've got one of your classes took you into the forest surrounding the campus for a faculty-guided field trip. The woods are full of dangerous creatures, and this was your chance to learn more about them safely. While the trip was fine, on your way back to the school, you saw a vision of the academy collapsing. The dust from the collapse swallowed you, whispering, "You'll never escape." When you blinked, the tower stood once more. What did you study in the woods? Who joined you? What have you concluded about the vision? And then your major arcana card is 9, the Hermit. Then for me, I've got the 9 of Pentacles. While exploring the grounds, something made you angry, so angry that arcane energy erupted from your skin and tore every leaf from a nearby tree to shreds. The tree remains bare to this day. What caused you to lose your temper? Did anyone get hurt? How do you keep your powers in check now? What rumors were caused by this event? And then my major arcana card is the Hanged Man, number 12.
It feels like everything is leading towards a sort of moment, a possibility in the future. And I think the creature that we're going to investigate shows you, if you manage to catch it and look into its eyes, it doesn't have eyes in the place that you expect eyes to be. So if you manage to catch it and look into its eyes, it shows you the moments just before your death. It used to be accused of causing the death, but that has since changed. It's just showing you a possibility. And they managed to find a small brood of them. They're young, they tend to be solitary. And when looking into one of their eyes, she sees this, not the vision of the school collapsing, but she sees something else. And she sees someone with her in that moment, someone who should be dead. And that doesn't make sense. In amongst the faculty, when they're returning back to the school, there is someone sitting in shadow in one of the carriages, and they know that she can see them, but no one else seems to be reacting to them. She knows who it is, but she doesn't say anything. And she thinks this vision is not so much a literal representation of the school, the academy collapsing, but the "you'll never escape" is more of a warning. Like, this thing will bring you down with it.
Ooh, I like that a lot. Emmeline was probably on this same trip and was maybe lagging a bit behind Zoanna, but then maybe saw Zoanna pause as this vision took hold.
Mhm.
And then when there was a more private moment, asked Zoanna about it. I'd be interested to hear if you think that Zoanna would have told Emmeline what the vision was of, or whether they'd keep it to themselves.
I think she would have told you.
Nice. And then, yeah, Emmeline would have gone off on a big tangent, trying to decipher all of these different elements and probably not come up with anything very useful. I think that the thing that made Emmeline angry when she was exploring the grounds, I think it was possibly after this conversation, she's going through all the elements in her head, trying to make everything make sense and just absolutely failing to do so. And goes out to the grounds to kind of clear her head, walk it off, and spots. I don't think it's the headmaster, I think it's maybe the deputy headmaster walking in the grounds. Let's call them Professor Ash. She just finds herself confronting Professor Ash and laying out some of the bizarre things that have been happening and directly asking what the hell is going on. And when the response is less than satisfactory, probably something along the lines of, "You've been using magic irresponsibly, it's clearly affected your judgment. Like, this professor is gaslighting Emmeline, essentially, is what she believes. And that causes the outburst and the tree to have all its leaves shredded. I think that this professor is wily enough to avoid any damage from this kind of spell outburst. But it's a very sobering moment for Emmeline, who is so keen to keep herself in control. This feels like a moment that she lost control, and it was her own fault. It wasn't an external force tampering with her. It was merely she couldn't keep her own temper in check. Yeah, she very much tries to be more reserved from this point on, tries not to show what she's feeling to anyone. I think maybe Zoanna's the person who gets the most hints as to what Emmeline is actually feeling at any one time. I'll leave you to describe perhaps the rumours that sprung up out of this event.
It starts off, I think, pretty basic. Emmeline let her temper get out of control. She blew down a couple sheds. She burned the tree to ashes. And then it spreads to she tried to kill Professor Ash. But they were powerful enough to withstand it, and only the grounds got scorched. And then it's oh, the grass is never gonna recover in this spot because of what she did. It's a permanent marker. And then it's oh, did you know 3 kids said that they got hit by the blowback from this? It's just, as it spreads further and further, more people are trying to get their little piece into it, claiming that, oh, they were affected by it. Look, I got this scar from what Emmeline did. I mean, Zoanna doesn't believe any of it. I think she's less concerned about defending your honor as opposed to what does Professor Ash know.
Yeah, it feels like Emmeline must have hit on something to get the response that she got, at least in Emmeline's mind. So the prompt for the end of year 3 is: this year closed out with the alumni-hosted Masquerade Ball, a 6-hour formal event celebrating the achievements of Brackroot's graduates. It was your chance to network, party, and fully embrace the magical world that could await you. Who did you attend the ball with? Who did you dance with? Who was escorted out? And very fuzzily in the book, who did you bury to get here?
There's also who did you hurt?
Who did you hurt? Who was found murdered in the hall? Do you have any initial thoughts, Wren?
I think I probably would have gone with someone from my house, just because that's probably the common thing that happens. Same year, so a nice young woman, Bronwyn, sort of fairly complimentary of Zoanna's abilities. I think because she is the star student of their year, she's just kind of taking in the thrill of being the hanger-on to the star. So I think that's what Bronwyn's getting out of this.
I think for Emmeline, I think she's trying to redeem herself in the eyes of the upper faculty. She's kind of envisaging herself as a spy, and so she's found someone who is very close to the upper faculty, perhaps a young graduate who is particularly close with the headmaster, and has persuaded him to be her partner for the night. I think this person has a name like Sylvius. So she is being very accommodating, being very charming, but all the time is looking for micro expressions and just absolutely analyzing the shit out of his face and his words, trying to figure out if he's involved in this grand conspiracy. Yeah, Emmeline is fast turning into a massive conspiracy theorist, but is possibly more justified in this world. All right, so do you think that anyone gets escorted out while we're there?
It's one of the teaching aides, so not one of the professors themselves, but one of their teaching aides. I think one of them gets into an argument, like they're trying to be discreet, but like the voices start to raise. I think it only takes a few moments before they say something, I think, related to the group that Professor Sagrada was accused of being a part of. Like, they're not saying that they're a part of it, but they're saying something related to them. And the person that they're talking to is like trying to calm them down, but they're getting more irate the more that they keep trying to like shut down this conversation. I think they end up getting escorted out.
Nice. I think that when it comes to who did you hurt for Emmeline, I think that it's Silvius. I think that he genuinely thinks that she wants to date him, and this is entirely a ruse on her part. So when it gets to a point in the evening where he makes some kind of move and she flat out rejects him, the whole plan kind of crumbles. And I think maybe he storms out. And whether Emmeline actually managed to get any useful information, I think, is debatable. And then I had an idea for who was found murdered in the hall, but
Oh no, please.
I think Professor Ash.
Okay.
I think there's possibly been a retaliation on the part of the anti-school group, whatever it may be. And even though Emmeline was very clearly in the hall at the ball, I think there are rumours that she had something to do with it, considering she had a very public dispute with Professor Ash only recently. Is there anything that you want to add or adapt?
It's possible that Zoanna might be implicated as well, because I think there's a moment during like one of the big communal dances where you like swap partners. I think there was like a brief time where she ended up getting partner swapped with you just so you could like dance briefly. And I think a lot of people were expecting like some kind of friction to happen, because to the rest of the world, I don't think they're aware that Zoanna and Emmeline have had this like secret meeting of the minds every now and then about the conspiracy of the school. And so they're like expecting like something significant to happen, and then it doesn't, and it makes the atmosphere a little weird because why didn't that happen?
Yeah. I think we've kind of kept up the appearance of the rivalry, and I think possibly we are both quite competitive people anyway,
Mhm.
so we have still been trying to best each other in academic circumstances. But yeah, this understanding that we have is not common knowledge. Interesting. That's all the time we have for this episode of A Game of One's Own. But next week, our story will conclude with Year 4 of Tangled Blessings. If you want to try Tangled Blessings for yourself, there's a link in the podcast description. You can also find out more about all the other brilliant games by Cassi Mothwin by following the links in the description. Thanks so much to this week's amazing guest, Wren. You can find links to their social media in the description as well. Thank you for listening to this episode of A Game of One's Own. Our theme music, as always, is by James Barbarossa, with additional music by Kevin MacLeod. If you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/snazzytapier for all the bonus goodies. You can find the show on social media at A Game of One's Own, and find out more about my work at snazzytapier.com or at Maddy is Abstract on social media. See you next time for more weird stories.